Hey guys, welcome to the Massive Iron channel. Welcome to Massive Iron Live, the longest running lifting podcast in the history of the universe. That's my claim, but I really don't know anybody that's been doing this longer. So I'm just going to stick with it. Hope you guys had a wonderful week. Santa is almost here. We're 13 days away from Santa Claus coming. You better be nice, right? You better get your act together. You only have a couple days left. Now, before we get into things, I'm here to answer your questions. Answer your questions on diet, training, nutrition, off topic. Doesn't matter if your question has been answered a million times before. I am here to help. So don't hesitate to post up your question. If your question doesn't go through, try shortening it or rewording it. Sometimes if the question is too long, YouTube does not like it. And sometimes if you use a word YouTube doesn't like, it will filter your question. Now, I am going to get into the topic of the day, that is crazy gymflation standards. Before I do so, I want to remind you guys of a couple things, so just bear with me. We have, let's see, let me just try to pull it up here. Overlay, there we go. Now through the end of the year, I have a special on custom workouts. You can head over to here, search custom in the search button, or go to search bar, search area, whatever you want to call it. Or you can go to the services, and in the drop down, you will see custom workout. They're only $29. Everything, no cookie cutter nonsense. I send you a list of questions. It takes me about an hour to do. So everything is built from the ground up using the Massive Iron, principles and tools and that sort of thing. But I don't just do cookie cutter stuff. So check that out. If you also go over here and search black for Black Friday or 2025, you'll get all the Black Friday deals. $9.99 t-shirts. The massive omnibus books are only $9.99 each. You can get cheap gym bags. You can get cheap drawstring bags, all kinds of things. Coaching, if you want it. I'm trying to have my roster filled. I had a couple people inquire this week that haven't got back to me. I only have really a couple spots left. I like to keep it around a certain number. I know on social media, you see a lot of these coaches saying, only 2 slots left, only 2 slots available. I stay pretty full with my coaching roster. I don't actively advertise it. I am very grateful that I stay pretty full, but I do like to get in a few extra people by the end of the year. January gets pretty crazy, because of everybody hopping on. So by January, I'm pretty full. If you are interested in coaching, check out the tab. I would love to help. It's just not, I don't just check in once a week via spreadsheet. I'm there with you every single day, Monday through Friday. I leave you alone on the weekends. We work together to go over the workouts, the exercise form, the nutrition, everything. So I keep an eye on everything. After the first month, coaching is only $89.40. That's one of the most affordable rates you'll find in this industry, because I do this for a living. It's not my part-time gig. It's not my side chick. It's not something I just do as an accompanying service. I coach for a living. So if you're interested, please check out the coaching tab. All right. Enough with the commercials. How is everybody doing? I have set my goals for the new year. And I want to go over my goals real quick, and then we will dive into the topic of the day, which is gymflation. Gymflation. One of my clients, Mike, brought that up. So I thought, hey, that would be a good topic to discuss, especially with the information, the nonsense, the chaos regarding Jeffrey Verity Schofield, is 440 by 15 trap bar deadlift and Revival Fitness. So, real quick, here are my goals for 2026. 2025 was my best year of training since 2020. Um, really good year of training. I got my bench up to 275, 10 by 10. I was extremely consistent with nutrition. I've started to get back into ultra running the last couple of months. I'm doing hour and 15-minute runs at a pop right now when the weather allows. I got into jujitsu in August. So I have set some goals. I'll be 59 in October of next year. I feel literally 29. Curiously enough, my jujitsu instructor said I move like men half my age, which I'll take as a big compliment. I'm not any special snowflake. I just simply believe in the power of fitness and lifting. Am I as capable as I was 29? I'm 58 right now. No, I'm not. But man, I feel absolutely great. And I really, really am enjoying jujitsu because I'm able to do things I didn't think I'd be able to do at my age. So my goals for 2026, I'll be 59 in October, get my body weight into the 210s. For a couple reasons. Number one, I want to maximize my endurance running. Number two, I want to be in the best physical shape of my life, lead from the front. And number three, I want to be under 220 for a potential jiu-jitsu competition next October-ish. Endurance running, I want to continue to return to consistent running. Next June 27th is the 12-hour endurance run in West Virginia. I want to do that and hit 50K. It's a brutally challenging course, a beautiful course, but man, is it tough. And hitting 50K on that course is a big accomplishment, and that is my goal in 12 hours. Jiu-jitsu, tentatively plan to compete around October. That's my goal, but, I'm in no rush. I'm not trying to rush competition. I'm not trying to win anything. I just need a goal to keep me focused. And 2026, my goal is 250 hours of resistance training. Should be pretty easy. Right now, I'm getting it 7 to 8 hours a week, 150 hours of running, which would be 3 hours a week, and 200 plus hours of jujitsu or 4 hours a week. For those curious, my schedule in July for jujitsu will be Tuesday night gi, Wednesday night no gi for an hour each. Friday night open mat for 2 hours where I get to practice stuff. And then Saturday we have adult gi or no gi, and then advanced white belt. So up to 6 hours a week. So that's my goals. I'd love to hear your goals. Let me know. And that's about it. So let's talk about gymflation, right? This week, all the scandal, all the rage, all the chaos was the back and forth between Jeffrey Verity Schofield and Revival Fitness. And Jeffrey did a 440 by 15 hex bar, trap bar deadlift. I was very surprised because I thought it was for somebody that you don't see, doing a lot of those types of lifts. That was pretty darn strong. Some people didn't like me saying that. It's the internet, like, that's not strong at all. You know how many comments, if you go to my Instagram, it took off and went viral. You know how many comments are like, that's not strong at all, right? Yeah, let's be real. I'm always going to be real with you guys. And you guys, if you think I'm an idiot, call me an idiot. But 99% of people that trap bar deadlift aren't going to be able to get 440 by 1. To get 440 by 15, that's super impressive, okay? We got a bunch of comments. I only deadlifted for 2 weeks and I pulled 700 by 2 on the trap bar, just stuff like that. I'm not making fun of these guys, but you know how it is. It's the internet. There's a ton of comments like that. Like, I woke up out of bed and I did 440. I could probably do 440 by 50. It's only trap bar. Great. I've never done 440 by 15, and I have a 660 deadlift on the platform twice. No, 660 on the platform, 675 on the platform. And at my fattest at 346, I hit 700 for an easy 2 on the deadlift. So I was pretty much approaching probably a 770, 775 conventional deadlift. I have a little bit of experience with deadlift. I'm not trying to leverage that to say I'm the world's greatest expert, but I'm just saying I've never hit 440 by 15 on the trap bar. I've never really overworked it, but I've never tried. So it's not a weak lift, let's be real. But that aside, let's talk about gymflation. One of the struggles with my clients is trying to disconnect them. And I mean this in a polite way, because if you go on Instagram, all the comments you read, like half the comments you read are like, anybody can do 440 by 15. My grandma, who's 89, did 440 by 15, and she doesn't even lift, right? That's the way everything is positioned. If you talk about arm size, I have 19-inch lean arms at 7% body fat, right? Gymflation, where's the pictures? Oh boy, he just happened to disappear. Where's the videos? He just happened to disappear. There are a lot of strong people out there. There really, really are. But I want you to understand that it's very, very difficult to hit these lifts, no matter what you see on the internet. It's simply difficult. And that's one thing I try to stress to my clients. In the real world, hitting 225 for multiple sets of 5 or 225 for 10 on the bench press is a major accomplishment. If I put that on Instagram right now, you'll get ha, ha, ha. Like I bench press 440 straight out of bed with a hangover, like I've been going to some of the strongest powerlifting meets in my life, and even guys like the Lillibridges, Pete Rubish, stuff like that. Those were really the handful of guys that were benching in the 400s, So, but on the internet, everybody does it, right? Everybody benches in the 400s. And, but the real world compared to this gymflation culture, yes, there are certainly people that are doing these lifts, but let me tell you, as somebody that has been the online coach of the year, that has worked with literally thousands of people, that has worked with Special Olympians, that has worked with coaching real people on the platform, that has worked with the strongest powerlifter in the world. I trained at Donnie Thompson's gym for a while. I've in Ohio, I trained with a lot of ex-West Side. I've trained with a lot of strong people, and I've been to a lot of powerlifting meets, and it will open your eyes when you go to even a top level powerlifting meet, how few people are even deadlifting in the 600s, are benching in the 400s, right? I remember when I did 675 on my second lift at the UPA meet in Iowa. The UPA had guys like the Lillibridges, Eric Ernie Sr., Paul Carter was coaching, just tons and tons of strong guys. My deadlift of 675 was the second best. The only person following me was maybe third best. Maybe a couple of the Lillibridges beat me. But Eric Lillibridge was after me. Eric Lillibridge. He was sitting there, and when I got off when I hit my 675, I said, "What should I do next?" He says, "Go for 700." And he was doing like, I don't know, what he was doing during that meet, but I was the second I had one of the strongest deadlifts at this meet, and this had a lot of world-class people. So, I'm not trying to elevate myself, but the stuff you see on the internet, is a lot of the 1% of 1%, right? Yes, there are a lot of strong people out there. I don't deny, and I'm not trying to position myself as the strongest of the strongest. I had some pretty respectable lifts, and I'm happy with what I did because I come from a bodybuilding, muscle building background. I'm often seen as a power lifter, but I came from a bodybuilding, muscle building background. So let me tell you something, and we'll end with this. If I had to go back in time and tell my 18-year-old self, I would say, look, if you can get your bench press to 225 for maybe 5 sets of 10, your squat 315 for 5 sets of 10, and maybe deadlift, up to about 495 for the compound movements, that's probably all you need for maximum muscle mass. I wouldn't go back in time and tell myself not to push harder, but I would give myself some perspective. I would not be any smaller than I am now with those lifts. So there is getting a lot stronger than you are now to build muscle. And then there is really, really strong for the sake of becoming obsessed, with end limit strength. There's nothing wrong with that. I was there. But if you want to build maximum muscle, and you think you need to get a 400-pound bench press to do so, that's not true. That's gymflation. If you think you need to get a 500-pound squat to get there, that's not true. That's gymflation. There's a lot of gymflation. And I am not setting the bar low. I'm just telling you that gymflation sets the bar too high, and not as many people as you think are actually at that level. And perhaps there are a lot of people that are exaggerating a little bit, because it is the internet, right? So have big standards, take care of your body. This is one of the reasons why I use the term power building. And the differentiator is, and I know there's a couple of people that get really triggered by the term power building, like it's some marketing term. That's nonsense. I started using it almost 20 years ago to differentiate the following. You can be in love with building muscle, but not care about maximum strength on the big lifts. Jeffrey Verity Schofield is a good example of this. He is not a power builder at heart. And that's not a dig at him. I'm a big fan of GVS. I love everything he's doing. I love his integrity. I love his approach. But he is not a power builder. I started using the power builder not as a marketing term. I wasn't making anything. I ran communities for a long, long time. I didn't make a damn cent. What was I marketing? Right, using the term. It wasn't a marketing cutesy term. So this whole comment is just ridiculous. It speaks more of the people that imply it than it does reality. Anyway, I started using the term because I am someone that is obsessed with muscle, but love strength on the big lifts. So a power builder for me always meant somebody that loves muscle, but also loves a lot of strength on the big lifts. I love strength on the dumbbell bench. I got up to fit 150s by 10. I love strength on the deadlift. I love strength on the squats. I love strength on the overhead. I got my seated overhead to 315, my seated BTN to 315. Not saying this to brag, but to frame things. I love, love, love strength. But muscle is my foundation. So that is what a power builder is. And Jeffrey Verity, I think it would be fair to say, is not a power builder, and that is not a criticism. It's a differentiator. He has really good strength. The strength I would go back and tell myself, really all you really need to build maximum muscle. But he doesn't have that obsession with the big lifts and strength to the degree what I would say a power builder has. So one final thought in all of this chaos, the 440 by 15. Some people misinterpreted it, saying that I was implying it was equal to a 600-pound conventional deadlift. I'm not an idiot. That's not what I was saying. I was saying if you look at a 1-rep max calculator, it's equatable to probably a 660 hex bar deadlift, give or take. It's just a calculator, and we're not idiots, so we understand that. I did a 655-pound Romanian deadlift. Okay. I did a 700 by 2-pound conventional deadlift with chains at a competition lockout. I believe it was like the week before Christmas at a competition. I did an 880-pound lockout on deadlift. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is because I love the deadlift. I have some insight. I'm not naive when it comes to deadlift strength. I've never done 440 by 15 on hex bar. I've never tried it. I could probably do it. It's still strong. It's very, very strong. Most people will never get to 440 by 1. So that's the final note on Gymflation. Let me know your thoughts. All right, let me get a drink and get into things. Martin is here. Everybody misses you, Martin. So I'll just leave it at that. Good to see you. Big Kyle. Badly, Martin. We miss you badly. Good morning, Big Ernie. Ernie says, happy, hey, Martin Day. Steve and T Massive, speaking of lifting standards, is a 3-plate Smith squat as impressive as a barbell back squat? I don't want to equate them, right? Because that's not fair. What is impressive to me is someone that attacks progressive overload and does so to the point where they build a amount of strength that is above 99% of everybody else in the gym. So how many people, are going to do a 315-pound Smith squat? Not many. If I say that's impressive on Instagram, someone will start twitching. My grandma is in a walker, a scooter, and she can do a 495-pound Smith squat. You're an idiot, big, hairy, ugly dude. Maybe I am, but that's an impressive lift. If it's a 1% lift, it's an impressive lift. And what impresses me is consistent effort over time. Strength respects strength. I will leave it at that. What are your thoughts on specialization phases? Do we need them? No. We don't need them. That doesn't mean we can't do them for fun. Are they unnecessary? I guess it depends on what you consider unnecessary. They can be fun. I have done specialization phases. I think if you are serious about lifting, like you have built a good degree of muscle and strength, then messing around with specialization phases can be fun. Are they going to be a dramatic game changer? No. The hype around specialization phases is ridiculous. It's off the charts. The reality of a specialization phase is it's like a little bump, right? It's like spitting into a lake. Could it give you a little bit of a nudge? Yeah. Could some people maybe add 20, 25 pounds to their bench? Yes. Very rare, but in those cases, I think they could have probably tried anything, really, any type of training specialization, and they would eventually got it anyway. That's my feeling. But, I don't want to generalize because it's not fair, but specialization phases can be fun. I wouldn't worry about them till you are kind of at the intermediate level of strength and muscle, and then maybe you could play around with them, but just have the proper expectations, right? They're not going to take your squat from 300 to 450. If somebody says, I did a specialization phase on squat and it went up 100 pounds, right? Losing my voice, going through puberty. SUS, it would be very sus. Either they're exaggerating, or what can happen a lot is that somebody wasn't training as hard as they could have been, and then they do a specialization phase, and it puts them on track where they are now training as hard as they should be. And then all of a sudden a lift or a body part moves up. Does that make sense? So in that sense, it can train you to get on track. It can be a nice auto correcting tool, if that makes sense. All right. So I was asked via Instagram to compare the 3-set Savage protocol to Bulldozer. So just to set the table, the Bulldozer protocol is generally, you're using the same weight on both of the Savage protocol and the Bulldozer protocol. You're using the same weight for each set. You're using the same weight for each set or mini set. Both of them are rest pause protocols. The Bulldozer protocol, you push the first set for maximum safe quality reps. Generally, you want to be between 12 and maximum 15. When you get around 13, 14, or 15, on the first set of Bulldozer protocol, you're going to add weight the next time. After that, you rest about 15 to 20 seconds or 10 deep breaths, and you perform max safe reps, and you repeat this, adding 4 more rest pause sets. So you have the flagpole, this is the first set, somewhere around 12 to 15 reps, and then you rest 15 to 20 seconds between each of the subsequent 4 mini sets. The progression indicator is going to be the first set, but you could also, if you want to do a rep goal approach, add up all the reps for all 5 of the sets, and when you hit a certain target, then you could move up 5 pounds or whatever on that lift. Savage, you are doing 2 sets with a weight. For example, you could use bench press 185. Let's say you're at 185 and you want to work within the 8 rep range. You could do 185 by 8. The second set, you're going to rest normally and then do a second set 185 by max. And then you do 2 subsequent rest pause sets, resting 15 to 20 seconds. So you do a primer set with the weight, rest normally, do a second set, which is max safe reps, and then do 2 rest pause sets. Now, that first primer set is really good. It's going to get your CNS engaged. It's going to get you connected with that exercise and add a little bit of extra volume. It's kind of a pared down Bulldozer rest pause protocol. Not quite as intense, but still very, very valuable. Gives you about the same amount of intensity overall, relative, So my client was asking about 3 sets Savage, where you do on bench, say you're doing 185 by 8, 185 by 8, 185 by max. And then if you hit 10 or more, or go 2 reps over the rep target, then you would move up in weight. And he was asking me about relative weight. In most cases, the Bulldozer, you're going to be using a heavier weight because you're only doing 1 max rep set. If you're doing 185 on bench using 3 set Savage, normally Savage is 2, but we can do 3. There's no rules, right? The only rule is to train hard. If you did 185 by 8, 185 by 8, 185 by max or 10, that would be harder than doing 185 by 12 to 13, probably by a degree. I mean, this is a very complex topic. Let's look at some numbers from a 1 rep max calculator, just as kind of a baseline conversation. So let me share the screen. We're really getting in the nuts and bolts here. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day, but let's say you did 185 for Bulldozer and your first set, you had 12 reps. And your approximate 1 rep max would be around 259. If you did 14 reps, your approximate 1 rep max would be around 270. So your 1 rep max is around 260 to 270. Okay. The rest pause work doesn't count towards your max. It's just icing on the cake. It's just extra stuff, right? So um, let's see if I did 185 on bench for 3 sets of 8, 8, and 10, and the last set was to failure. What would be my approximate? So I'm using ChatGPT here because a calculator is going to struggle a little bit more. I don't know about that. I think it's just doing it off one set. I think in the bulldozer world where you're doing 12 to 14 reps and you're about 260 to 271 rep max, I would say you're probably in that range working with 8, 8, and 10. You might be a little bit higher, but they're pretty close. My client was saying that one felt heavier to him. They're pretty close. I would say if you're doing 10 reps on your third set with Savage, fatigued, it's going to be pretty close to doing bulldozer with the same weight for 13 or 14 reps. The bulldozer might actually be a little bit heavier. But again, I don't want this to be confusing. It's all speculation. You have some muscular endurance, strength endurance in the equation. So it's really, really hard to tell, but they're pretty close. Thank you. I appreciate it. Good morning, Big Joe from Canada. How you doing? Martin, everybody misses you. We do. Rico, how you doing? Justin Jones, good morning. Good to see you. When starting a new exercise like Roman chair hamstring raise, would it be wise to not go too? Yes, absolutely. Anytime, this is not specific to any exercise, the exercise being discussed. When you introduce a new exercise, something completely different from what you've been doing, you need to go mild on it and get a feel for the exercise. You could be doing all the hamstring work in the world, but if you add something like this, it's going to hit you in a way you probably haven't been hit before. We have to be really, really careful about picking up aches, pains, and strains. We have to be smart about what we're doing. Right now, I've just been doing incline dumbbell bench the entire year. Why? Is it magic? No. My dumbbells at home only go up to 75s. So I'm doing like multiple sets of 20 on incline dumbbell bench with the 75s. I'm not doing flat bench simply because I don't have enough weight. No other reason. But if I had enough weight and I moved back to flat dumbbell bench, I would go moderate. I would always ease back into things because it's a different movement pattern, even though it's similar. When I first did incline dumbbells, after not doing them for a very long time, probably 10 years, I could feel the difference in my upper chest. I know that might sound scandalous to some, but it is true. So always ease into things in most cases. Like if you jumped over to a cable tricep extension with a low impact, you're probably pretty safe, but still I would probably have a feeler week just to get my feet underneath me. You have deadlifts tomorrow. Yeah, just ease into things, be smart. Shelly, we're all happy to see Martin. Martin, don't make yourself a stranger. Richard, good morning. Happy Friday. Hope the accident crash from last week got sorted without any issues. Congrats on leveling up in jiu-jitsu. Thank you. I appreciate that. I did get my first stripe. I'm a white belt, single stripe, right? I'm happy for it. It was an honor. I think I had the most attendance from any men in the class. I just like going. Doesn't make me a special snowflake. I just like going. So I was on my way to jiu-jitsu last Tuesday, just going across an intersection. Somebody smashed into me. They just turned right in front of me. It's been a headache. My car is finally in the shop getting fixed, but I'm carless. And honestly, they want to give me $31 a day to for a rental car, but I have to ask for reimbursement after I pay like $1,000 out of pocket for the month I'm not going to be with the car, plus the $500 deposit. Just paying 1,500 out of your bank account when you least expect it. Look, I'm not Donald Trump, right? I can't just pull $1,500 out of my checkbook for stuff like that. So it's a huge inconvenience, but no boo boo baby here. Richard, the story of the week, man. I didn't even think about it. Hope you had some good week. Hope you had a good week and some nice. I'm never prepared for the story of the week. What would be the story of the week? What should we talk about? What should we talk? I mean, I don't know, man. What's been on my mind this week? I'd like to share a story. But I kind of feel like sharing a thought. One of the things that bothers me most in the industry is the incessant obsession with attacking other lifters, right? So and so's deadlift isn't strong. So and so's bench isn't strong. So and so isn't as big. So and so should look bigger after 10 years of lifting. If somebody asks me, and I'm going to say, how do you think I look after 10 years of lifting? My goal is to gain maximum mass. I will be honest with you because I care and I want to see you expedite your progress and maybe assess the things that are going wrong. I'm going to be honest with you, but that comes from a place of love. I know that's an awkward word for us to use. It makes some people uncomfortable, but love is an action. And I love coaching, and coaching is an action. And I love to help people reach their goals. So there is a difference between somebody saying, where do you think this physique is after 10 years if it wants maximum mass? I will say, I will be honest, because honesty can help people get up to speed, right? But in this industry, we have a tendency just to be very, very critical of people that might have different goals, that might not have the goal of maximum mass, that might have spent the first 7 years confused about their training, not up to speed on their training. But in this industry, there can be so much drama, unfounded, baseless drama, attacks, and we don't need to go in the nuance. But here is my challenge for myself every day, and I'm not a perfect person. I make mistakes. When you are doing this, and I'm not an influencer. I didn't start out to be an influencer. I'm not trying to be an influencer. I'm just trying to teach lifting. I'm just trying to be a coach. I don't give a rip about likes or follows or any of that. All I care about is reaching the people that want my help. That's as honest as I can get. I just want to help people. Where was I? I got lost. I'm not perfect. This is my challenge every day, because when you receive a lot of information, sometimes you share an opinion and then you're like, oh, maybe I should have thought through that opinion a little bit more. But my challenge for myself, because I'm trying to become a better person every day, and my challenge for us as a community is to respect strength. Strength respects strength. Effort respects effort. I posted this on social media. You can disagree with the methods, and you can look at somebody who's been lifting for 10 years and maybe they're only at a third of the direction, a third of the way along that they should have been if everything was perfect. but we don't always understand their story. But one thing we always need to do is have each other's back. Strength respects strength, and effort respects effort. We might not always have a focused effort, but we need to be more supportive. That doesn't mean lie. Um, if somebody asks me, how do you think my physique is for 10 years of lifting, on Team Massive, I'm going to be honest with them. I'm going to say, you have a good base. Maybe you should probably have gained 10 more pounds during that time of muscle. And then I'm going to help them get there. Right. And I'm not talking about fake positivity, but all this hate and drama and going after people, it just gets a little bit tedious. I don't see this in the gym much, if at all. Right? I have trained all over the place and with everybody, and it's generally a really positive environment. I've been in the same gym with the Hodge twins. We trained together, and been in the same gym with Jerry Ward and Big J and Mike Rashid and all the old YouTubers, right? Regardless of what their personality is like, regardless of if you like them or not, it's usually a very positive experience. We have respect for the iron. We have respect for strength. We have respect for the effort. And if any of you come train with me, I respect you for just trying to put in the effort. So strength respects strength, and effort respects effort. I want you guys always to use that as your foundation. Respect the process. Let's not be quick to judge. Let's take time to understand. Life is very, very difficult, and everybody's on a different path. And just because somebody's been lifting for 10 years doesn't mean we understand their 10-year journey. A lot of things can happen in 10 years, a lot of personal struggles and whatever. I'm not making excuses. The gymflation thing can really, really skew things. You're so used to seeing the cream of the crop all day long on Instagram that we become detached with what it really, really takes and what is a really decent physique. Scott Herman, for example, let me just pull him up because I want to make some commentary. Because I think Scott Herman is a really, really good example. Okay. Let me just pull Scott Herman up. Let me find a good picture. Okay. I'm just going to use Scott Herman as an example because I think it's a pretty good example of the detachment between the average lifter. Okay. So there's Scott. Scott's been lifting forever. Does Scott have maximum muscle? No. Is Scott as big as GVS or myself or Alex? No. That's not a dig on Scott. Scott still looks great, right? How many of us in the industry how many of us in lifting would just like to look like Scott? A lot of people. Looks great. His abs, big chest. He doesn't have the maximum amount of size. He's not a super strong guy. He's not super obsessed with strength. But, we've seen in the last month people put down Scott's physique, and I respect Scott for having the dedication to do what he's done. Our goals are different. My goals are different than GVS. And we have to be able to be okay with that and not just continue to insult each other, right? Strength respects strength. Effort respects effort. Scott and I have different goals. I like to be at a higher body fat percentage. Scott likes to be at a lower body fat percentage. I like to be stronger and slightly bigger. Scott stays leaner. Different goals. We have different struggles. I was a 346-pound binge eater that nearly ate myself to death. I'm very satisfied with being 100 pounds lighter than that and having the pro wrestler look. Scott could easily come and make a video calling me a fat ass with no discipline. I have a stalker out there right now that absolutely hates me. And over the last 6 to 7 years, he has made endless accounts, made videos, all kinds of things, calling me a POS, a piece of bleep, because I don't have abs like him. I'm not lean like him. This is a good example of how you have different goals in the industry. This guy absolutely hates my guts. I can't even begin to explain to you the level he goes to create new accounts on Instagram, on YouTube, whatever, to tell me I'm a POS because I'm not lean with a six-pack ab and I have no business teaching you. And I know what I know and I know what I don't know. And our goals are different. But this is a great example of somebody hating somebody with different goals. And this is the part of fitness I hate. Online fitness. In person, when you're training with people, I don't see that. I just don't. I don't see it. I walk in the gym, I see somebody putting in the effort. I have nothing but respect. Even if I never talk to the guy, if I walk into a random commercial gym and I see somebody dumbbell benching 100s or overhead pressing 100s, I have respect. If I see somebody that's intermediate, lean, 15.5-inch arms, I have respect. It's usually a different story in the gym than out. So I guess my only story of the week is in the gym. I don't ever recall seeing this. I don't. I'm sure it happens. I'm sure we all have experiences. Somebody hated you because there's always idiots and fools and haters and whatever. But it is curious in the online world how different things are. Shelly, you've referred to your cut in phases. Can you elaborate? Sure. So I have put my cut into 3 phases and trying to, I'm sorry, the dogs are noisy because one just got back from the vet. I put my cut into 3 phases. Phase 1 was to get to about 240. Okay. I was about 246 to 248 when we started endurance running at age 50. I slowly started to gain a couple pounds a year, and then the pandemic hit and we were kind of trapped in. So I got a little bit heavier than that. So phase 1 for me was to get back down to 240, and I set a time frame. Why did I set it in phases? I don't know. It just made sense. So phase 1 was to get down there. Phase 2 was basically in November and December to continue with the cut, because going from 240, I've never been maximum mass ultra lean. I don't know what my body weight is. And plus, having been at 346, I have some loose skin under my armpits and my lower belly. Not a lot, but a little. So the loose skin factor, phase 2 was basically November and December, getting my weight down. I didn't really know how close I would have to get super lean. And phase 3 was basically the final phase, dialing in the details, the last 10, 15, 20 pounds, till I got to the point where I was happy. So phase 3 was to de-blubber, get that extra, running, endurance running, pandemic fat off. Phase 2 was to dial it down and get to a much lower weight. knock off another 15 to 20 pounds. And then phase 3 was the dialing in stage. Martin, thank you for the warm wishes. I'm fine. Rough few months. Had to cut off social media. All right. We are about 50 minutes in. I'm going to get a drink. Keep your questions coming. I'll stay on as long as you guys have questions. A lot of good topics, a lot of good information. This is your forum. I want to help you guys. So please, if you have a question, don't hesitate to post it up now. Coaching is what I do for a living. Yesterday, I worked 14 hours from 8 a.m. till 10 p.m. From 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock last night, I did updates for client workouts. I did about 5 or 6 of them. I do this for a living. I would love to work with you. If you're interested in coaching, you're frustrated, need help, get on board. It's only $89.40 after the first month. Sign up for coaching. You want a custom workout, you just want some guidance, and you can't afford coaching, they're only $29.99. Head over to here, search custom. And if you do not what was I going to say? I was trying to get rid of that stupid banner. You can head over here to Instagram, Evan the Barman. If you can't find it on the website, DM me, and I would be happy to answer questions about a custom workout or about coaching. All right, where are we? Deutsch Schmidt Michael. Did I say that right? Michael from Germany. Hey, Team Massive, finally made it to live. Cheers from Berlin. Good to see you, Michael. Big JP. In overhead press, I normally touch the top of my upper chest with a barbell. Is it okay to take a similar approach with dumbbells? Yeah, absolutely. On the overhead press, the key thing you want to look for is elbow position relative to shoulders. If your elbows are stopping at your shoulder level, the bar is generally going to be above your head. See what I mean? If you dip it below, okay, the bar is about nose level. If you come down to chin level, you can see your elbows are well below your shoulders. That's going to give you a lot of side delt stimulation. Generally, I start my pin press right here. My first rep. This is the position. I feel really good leverage position. Several inches below my chin. First rep up. Second rep, I just try to get it, right about here. A couple of inches. And I don't aim for a specific spot, but if I'm not getting below my chin level, then I'm in trouble. This is my pin press from last night, 200 pounds for 6 reps. I did 135 for 3 sets of 6, 155 for 6, 175 for 6. And because I was feeling good, I decided just to put on 200 and see how many reps I can get. A little bit fatigued, but it is what it is. So you can see I'm just getting the bar close to my body. Here I'm going to get my elbows under my wrists. We'll just wait. Okay, elbows are directly under my wrists. From a side view, you don't want your wrists forward of your elbows because it'll be hard to push off. You'll have really poor leverage. Wrists are slightly inside of the elbows, okay? Not outside. If they're outside, you're going to have some weird, awkward shoulder stress. So you can see I start basically on this upper chest level, okay? Right about here. Now, the bar, if you look where massive is on the flag, okay, because that's a good reference point, you see a little bit of space between the top of the M and the bar where I'm starting. See it? Okay. So when I bring it down, I just try to aim for chin level. Well, that was a little bit snappy. You can see it's several inches above the M. It's hard to say because this is angled up, but it's coming to about chin level, give or take. The key thing is to watch your elbows relative to your shoulders. Let's watch this again. I'll try to stop it when at the bottom if I can. See how far below the elbows are below the shoulders. That's basically what you want. And somewhere around chin level, give or take. Um, Michael, bulldozer question: is the difference in tension stimulus between doing 10 3 3 3 3 2 with 60 seconds rest and 14 5 3 3 3 2 with 30? The latter feels better. Tension, stress. Okay, so both of these scenarios, you are adjusting rest. The first scenario, you have 24 reps, 10 plus, 24. The second scenario, you have 19, 22, 25, 30. So you have more reps in the second scenario. You have more reps with a more limited rest period. That's generally going to be a lighter weight, and it feels better on your joints. Just because it's a lighter weight doesn't mean it's inherently worse from a stimulus standpoint, because you are pushing it to the limit, right? You're maximizing that weight, and you are going to be progressing with that weight. Those are the two keys, that you maximize at least one set and you are progressing when you need to progress. Weight doesn't matter to me. It always is self-correcting, self-regulating. We want to focus on maximizing the weight we are using and then always progressing. It'll take us to a good place. And if something is treating your joints better, go with it. One of the prime directives is treat your body good. Stay in the gym. Listen to your body. Let's say you were doing 200 pounds. I don't know what exercise this is, and it doesn't matter. Let's say you're doing 200 pounds for the first protocol, and you had 10, 3, 3, 3, 3, 2, and then you were doing 180 for the second protocol, 14, 5, 3, 3, 3, 2. Just because it's lighter doesn't mean it's worse for muscle building. You are maximizing both of them. The temporarily lighter weight is eventually going to get heavier because of progression, and it's providing good stress. If somebody just lowered the weight and wasn't pushing it hard, then it would be an issue. But we need to take care of the joints. This is what we call evolving programming based on needs. Don't worry about weight. Worry about that good effort, and worry about taking care of your body. Don't worry about that. Just keep your eye on overall weekly volume for that body part and treat your body good. Nolan, how's it going? Nolan, good to see you, my friend. Big Will, good to see you, my friend. Good morning from Friday, Hawaii. Will is a client of mine in Hawaii. Enjoy. Mikey, been a while. Glad to see you still conducting. Yep. If I don't show up, you'll know to call the wife because something dramatic happened. Let me get a drink. Can you explain how to do a Bulgarian split squat? I'm blind. Okay. So, first off, you want to have your rear foot on a bench at a comfortable level. It doesn't have to be low. It doesn't have to be high. It doesn't have to be at any arbitrary level. You just want to have that rear foot placed at a comfortable height. If anybody tells you it has to be arbitrarily super high or super low or whatever, they're creating arbitrary standards. So put your rear foot on something that feels good for you. Your front foot has to be far enough away from the rear foot so it feels comfortable as you lower the rear knee. You might have to play with this a little bit, but that's part of the process. You lower the rear knee, and it doesn't have to touch the ground. You lower the rear knee and then push up with the front foot or the front quad. So whether you're doing a lunge or a Bulgarian, you lower the rear leg, knee, and push up with the front. Some people mistakenly will try to lower themselves on the forward foot or leg and put awkward amount of stress on the front knee. You want to lower the rear knee and then push up with the front knee or leg or quad or foot. As far as balancing yourself, you can hold on to something to balance yourself because the goal isn't to completely imbalance yourself. A lot of people get this confused. They feel like holding on to something like a rack is cheating. It's not cheating. We're trying to take care of our body and stimulate the quads. This can actually facilitate better focus. If all you are is wobbly, wobbly, bobbly on your Bulgarians, then you probably need to hold something. Where should you hold the weight? Should you hold it on the side of the knee being lowered or on the side of the front leg pushing up, or on your chest like a kettlebell or dumbbell, or using a safety squat bar or whatever? I do not care. That is up to you and how things feel. Play around with it. DT347. The whole natty or not brain rot aside, I want to go back to Bulgarians just for a second. It's a unilateral exercise. So you don't just jump from one side to the other. You have to treat it like individual sets. So when you're done with one side, rest until you feel ready to go and then attack the other side. Sorry, DT. The whole natty or not brain rot aside, GVS is so genuine and the revival is such a try-hard edgelord. I can't take the beef seriously. There are so many layers to this, and I do not know the complete story. I do not want drama or beefs with anybody. I'm so far over that. So I just want to look at the deadlift and share my opinion with Gymflation in mind. I'm so over YouTube drama. I don't care if the entire world thinks I'm an idiot. I'm just going to continue doing what I do until I can no longer suck in air. I like GVS because he's down to earth. I'm so over the natty or not nonsense. I do know that if you are a natural lifter, just theoretically, you're a natural lifter, and you get as big as you can, you're always going to be attacked, even though you don't look anything like a steroid user, right? You ever look at like a legit steroid user, right? You know what they look like. But then we take these naturals and somehow you're using steroids. They don't look anything like somebody taking 1,000 milligrams of testosterone. I'm not getting into the whole TRT thing, but I think you guys know what I mean. RF is the type of guy to tell you that 440 dead is not possible for most people, and also 440 by 15 is weak. I'll just let that one float out because it may or may not be true. I don't know. I've not heard him say that, but I'll just take your word for it. But yeah, I have seen things like that, in the industry. I certainly have. Sean, would you say the limit for sets and reps would be for the big four before you risk injury or diminishing returns? No such thing. It's going to be different for everybody. For somebody that doesn't have a lot of lower back strength or development, doing higher reps is generally going to beat up your lower back. We don't want to overwork the deadlift. In general, it can take more than it gives, but you can have seasons where you do more volume as long as the intensity or relative weight generally isn't above 80% of your one rep max. Doing a lot of volume on squats can be mentally hard and physically extremely soreness. It can induce soreness to an extreme degree. Bench, I can do a lot of volume on, but generally I risk overuse injuries more than anything on the bench. So I would have to take things on a case-by-case basis. There's no right or wrong. I've done everything over the years. But it really comes down to the program and how it's being handled and, how someone's responding. Big Tom Hill. My bench is unbalanced, not unusual. I plant my feet, arch my back, squeeze my back. My shoulders are not symmetrical. I don't necessarily think it's your collarbone, and no, dumbbells are probably not going to fix it. What's probably going to fix it is just getting strong at everything, dumbbells and barbells. We almost each one of us is stronger with one arm than another. And most people, when they start benching, there's a little bit of imbalance, whether we notice it or not. It's nothing to worry about. It's very, very natural. You're generally not going to get hurt, but there's also no magic solutions. I've been lifting for 40 years. My right arm's still stronger than my left. I can do 150s for 10s on dumbbell bench. I've benched over 400. I've got all the strength. I've done all the exercise variations, dumbbells, barbells, unilaterals, alternating dumbbell bench, guillotine press, push-ups. I've done all the stuff. When you start out, the imbalance feels like this. And as you get stronger, that imbalance stays there, but it feels trivial. The difference feels trivial. Don't change your programming. Just be smart and stay healthy. I close grip bench 220 for reps, and I never thought I'd get there. That's very, very strong. Social media is tripping. I rarely see people flat bench. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. You have Gym Elite and you have Gymflation Elite. If I went on and said on Instagram right now, and just did a social experiment and said 225 by 5 is very, very strong on close grip bench, half the comments would call me an idiot. Half would say, I'm unfollowing you. You don't know what you're talking about. Right. I close grip bench 495 for 7 reps a week after I picked up a barbell, right? How many times have you seen that? I don't even know what to say. It's not reality. If I go into a commercial gym, I could just tell you this. If I see somebody with 225 on the bar doing whatever, bench, incline, close grip, whatever, I have respect because I know they're serious, and that's not a place most people get to. Thank you, McCuddles, sorry. I appreciate it. Love to see when an advanced lifter yourself, Alan Thrall. I don't know. I've not seen that name before, so I don't want to mispronounce it. Nasimi and Yang adjust their gym time to be more functional, more athletic, more healthy. Thank you. I appreciate that greatly. My primary love has always been fitness. It really has. Just general movement. I love to move. You guys don't see this, but I used to go run in my teens. I would run. I would do step ups. I'd go hit the ball against the wall with a tennis racket. I'd play a lot of baseball. I'd play a ton of basketball. I've been heavily involved with rollerblading in the 90s. I loved doing that. Hiking, just general fitness. I always wanted to get into the martial arts. I bought some books on the martial arts when I lived in Upper Idaho, but I was so far away from any martial arts studios that it wasn't even a possibility, and I didn't have the money back then either. And that's when, back then the first UFCs were coming out, and we would get the VHS tapes and watch them. And, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was taking the world by storm, but there was no place to train it, back then. And then I came home, got married, had kids, and I didn't have time for that. So I just stuck with lifting. But now movement is a luxury. I absolutely love endurance running. Like, I can't even describe how much I love it. Do I love it as much as lifting? No. Lifting's always my A1, but it's a synergy. I love being able to run long distances. In the woods, I just love it. I'm not fast. I will never be fast. I don't need to be fast, but I love endurance running because I can continue to go. And I never thought I would be able to continue to go. If you told me 20 years ago that I would go out and do 12-hour runs, July of one year, several years ago, We did 3 out of the 4 weekends in the heat of July, we made 50K attempts on trail runs. A trail run is much more challenging because of the terrain. No disrespect to flat ground pavement runners. It's just a different ball game, right? If you told me that for my 52nd birthday, I was going to attempt a 52-hour run, I would have thought you were the dumbest human being on planet Earth. I really would have. Uh, but and if you would have told me taking up jujitsu at age 58, I would be able to do it, 20 years ago, I would have thought you were the dumbest human being on planet Earth. But all I can say, no matter who you are, no matter where you're at, it's not too late in the game. There's a lot left. Get out and take advantage of the time. People ask me, why do you do this? Why do you do this? Why do you do this? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to prove? What are you trying to say? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I just I love the challenge. I love the freedom that exercise gives you. You have control. You have control with exercise. No one can limit how hard I train. I think this is the reason why I push back so much against the minimalist stuff, because it's not in my brain to not train hard. I have seen the fruit of pushing myself, not recklessly. But exercise gives you the opportunity to learn, to grow, to push, to study, to evolve, to do things you never thought possible, and no one can stop you. The economy can go to shit. Excuse my language. All the politicians can be crazy, can be batshit crazy. Excuse the swearing. The world can just be going to hell. But when you get out on that trail, or you get in this in the gym, or you get on the mats, or whatever you're doing, it is your world. Your world to create. No one can stop you. No one can tax you. No one can pull you off. No one can, force you to eat McDonald's. No one can force you to stop. And that freedom, not many things in life, give you that freedom. Any hobby and interest, I don't even care if it's video games. I love seeing people invest their time and energy in something. And I don't care what it is, painting, bowling, video games, who cares? Those things in life where you can challenge yourself and see what you're capable of. Other people don't need to understand it, right? It's your thing. It's your life. But anything in life that gives you an opportunity to just see what you can accomplish, what more needs to be said? Suggestions on progression with seated overhead to get stronger. Threes protocol is one of the big ones, DDP. If you need some suggestions on progression approaches, head over to the main page of my YouTube and search progression. You'll get a lot of progression approaches. Threes or DDP is a good place to start. You can also do ramping 3 and 5 rep sets, meaning you ramp up about 10% in weight. So for me, like last night on seated overhead, I did 135 by 6. You could do 155 by 6, approximately 10% of your top weight set, which would be 200 by 6, which is what I did here, right? So this is 200 by 6. You could do 135 by 5 or 6 or 3, 155 by 5, 6 or 3, 175, 195. You can ramp up like by 10%. You could start with 95, 115, 135, 155, 175 until you get to the max, and then you could drop down and do a back down set of 1 or 2 for max safe reps. That's a fun way to approach it as well. Sean, just a testament to your programming. Many years ago, I dialed back my training for a while and used your 2-day simple A-B split for muscle and strength. Not only did I maintain, but I made some decent gains. That's wonderful, wonderful. It's a wonderful story, and I'm glad to hear that. Training, this is a lesson that training is never about how much you do. 90% of this is going to be about how hard you do with what you can do. Have you looked at symmetric? Sorry, I read that as systemic. Have you looked at symmetric strength? I use it to record my progress. It's fun, but do you think it's analytically valid? I have no idea what that is. I'd have to research it because I have no connection point. I don't know if it's an app, a website, a theory, and I apologize. I hope you're good. Thank you, Jason. With compounds, pull-ups, deadlifts, is there any point with direct ab work? Yeah, there's always a point with direct ab work. Do you need to do it? No. Have I done a lot of it over the years? No. Will a minimum amount go a long way? Yes. But, depending on your goals, do you need to do it? No, you don't need to do it. I was at my strongest, and I never did any direct ab work during those years. That doesn't mean monkey see, monkey do, right? There's always going to be a slight benefit from doing some direct ab work. You just don't need to overdo it. A little bit goes a long way. Good to see you, my friend. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, Steve, happy Fridays. Thanks to you, and I hope you're doing well. Do you find that low volume can be used to get lifters to focus and really dial up the effort? It can be a good tool. I have some programs where we move from 3 sets to 2. Many of my clients over the years, we've moved from 3 sets to 2, not just on the entire program, but on some specific exercises. In many cases, sometimes moving from 3 sets to 2 allows you to focus a little bit better because a lot of time on the first set, you're thinking about the third set. So yes, I still like to think, as far as volume, I still like to think in terms of weekly volume. Like if I'm going to move bench press from 3 sets to 2, I'm not just going to do it for the sake of lowering my volume because that's a whole different construct, right? Mentally, when you move an exercise from 3 sets to 2, it can feel better because you can feel more focused. That's a different concept from lowering the volume, weekly volume. Does that make sense? I'm not saying I'm not trying to get overly confusing with this, but I just wanted to establish that lowering the volume on a specific exercise can help you focus a little bit, but it also can make room for you to do some other, add some different things in you might not be able to fit in. Michael, I looked like a beginner after over a decade of lifting. Michael's a client of mine. Years don't mean anything. You can always turn your life around. And the thing I respect, and we all have to respect, even though you didn't get the results you wanted, was that you were lifting. You were taking care of yourself, right? And thank you for allowing me to be your client. Thank you, Michael. It is an honor to work with each of you. I thank each of you. Calico Riot. What's a better? Whenever we see better or best, we want to pause there because we want to make sure we frame what's coming appropriately for better or best version of hard training. Max safe, where progressive overload is evident in both. An exercise where you're sore 2 to 3 days, 2 times a week, or one where you're sore maybe 1 day but can hit it 3 times a week. Better is not either of them. Better is the big picture. Training is an art far more than it is a science. Light years ahead, it's an art. Better can be different in every season. Better is in the nuance. There is no better. Better in the long run is a quality program you can stick to, a good exercise selection you enjoy during that season, a split you enjoy during that season. It's really as simple as that. That is the truth. That is the gospel. That is the reality. There's no formula. There's no equation. There's no getting into the numbers and unlocking the combination. I don't mean any disrespect, but there's none of that. That's a fairy tale. It's a fantasy. It's a nonsense construct created by the influencer world and the science-based world. You're not going to unlock a magic combination where you do something and you're sore for this, or you do something once a week and you're sore and you hit the exercise multiple, whatever. That's theoretical hoo-ha. That's a steaming pile of science-based baloney, right? It is. I'm not anti-science, but if we're truly being scientific, we need to understand that arbitrary constructs don't mean anything because it's a starting point. What means something is taking a starting point, getting in the gym, getting feedback, what is going on, evolving training, and you determining what is better as long as you have the massive iron 10 pillars of success in place. And if you don't know what the 10 pillars are, maybe it's probably time for me to make another video on that. Big Lee. Hot take. The saying big squat builds big dead, but not vice versa, also applies to machines and free weights. Yeah, this is another arbitrary construct. Strength builds strength. Everything is synergistic. I don't care what exercise selection people use. Strength builds strength. To what degree, who knows, who cares, right? All I know is that if I have a lot of quality exercises, strength is going to build strength. To what degree, we can't figure out. We can't create formulas. Martin, so happy to be back in the gym. You know, I have no idea how happy I am for you to be back in the gym. I hurt in places I didn't know I had. Well, just tell your wife your coach said she has to massage those hurt places you didn't know you have. Blame it on your coach. I'm not trying to get scandalous either, just humor. Michael, the powerlifting coach at my old gym, used to be a jerk, but started giving me props when he saw how much effort I put into my workouts. That's wonderful. He's supportive of other bodybuilders. Most of them don't squat. That's good to see. I love to see strength respecting strength and effort respecting effort, even if we're on different paths. Let's share a beer. Let's share a protein shake. Let's enjoy the freedom we all get from what we are doing. What are your thoughts on mini cuts to prolong a bulk? Okay, so when it comes to improving your body composition, we can try to overanalyze how to structure bulks and cuts. Okay? There are a couple things we know to be important. Number one, to improve your body composition in the long run, you're going to need some pullback periods where you cut a little bit. Get rid of a little bit of fat, dial things in, fine-tune things in. So we know to some degree, and this is going to vary depending on the individual, we're going to need to have some periods where we cut fat, right? Mini cuts, whatever. Maybe you have a really bad Christmas season. You have a lot of cookies. Maybe it's a 3-month cut. Who cares? But during a year, on average, you're going to need a percentage of this time in the cutting world to maximize body composition. What percentage is going to vary? We know that if we spend too much time, a high percentage of time in a cut, we are lowering the percentage of time we are in a bulk. We are lowering the time we are getting productive muscle building training. So therefore, when we do bulking, we want it to be lean bulking, sustainable, so we don't gain a lot of fat. So when we do mini cuts, we're still able to stay in a bulk probably at least 80% of the year. Who doesn't want to be in a surplus 80% of the year and just having to do a few mini cuts to maximize body composition? So bulking requires, when you jump into a bulk or a new phase of training, there's going to be a break-in period of 1, 2, or even 3 weeks, whatever. You get used to the demands of the new program. You get used to having a few more calories. And after this slight break-in period, then you really get into productive training, okay? So if you would just do 4-week bulks, 2-week cuts, 4-week bulks, 1-week cut, your bulking would constantly be in this break-in period where you're in a calorie deficit for 1 to 2 weeks, and then you get back to normal training and you just lost a couple reps on your bench and you're getting used to a calorie surplus. So a high percentage of your time in this scenario is spent getting back up to speed after a couple, 2, 3 weeks of a mini cut. So what this tells us is that bulking is best done in phases of 3, 4, 5 months, or even longer, depending on the scenario. You can bulk a year if you're doing a lean bulk and you have that ability. But we don't want to micro bulk. It's not a good idea. Does that make sense? Because we're spending an inordinate amount of time getting back up to speed after returning from normal calories or from training weak. So we want to have a solid block, at least bare minimum 3 months, 4 to 5 months. It can be longer on a bulk. A cut, it doesn't matter how a cut is all about how many days out of the year you're cutting. So let's say you, as an example, need 6 weeks, or let's say 40 days out of the year to maintain the body, fat levels you want while maximizing muscle. So 40 days, say we're using arbitrary numbers. Let's say you need 40 days of cutting a year to keep your body fat around where you want. And you have 325 days out of the year to bulk. Amazing, right? Wonderful. How you structure those 40 days does not matter. What matters most is that you stay in prolonged bulking periods. So let's say you graduate from college and you have 2 weeks where you're just transitioning and you want to do a quick cut of 2 weeks, 14 days. You can do that, okay? You can insert micro cuts because it's more about how many days out of the year we're cutting, as long as our bulking periods make sense. Does that make sense? So it is more about the cumulative number of days you are cutting during the year to maintain your body fat percentage when it comes to cutting. When it comes to bulking, we have to make sure that we have a reasonable amount of time invested into a phase of bulking. Now, if you're 2 months into bulking or a month and a half into bulking and you go to the dentist and you can't eat normally and you just want to use it as a period to cut, this is what I call forced cutting. Life is giving you a situation you have to process or deal with. And if you want to do a cut, a lot of times this happens with my clients where they want to do a quick mini cut because of some life event. We do a quick mini cut and we get back on the bulk. That's fine. We're looking at cumulative time cutting over the course of a year. And sometimes this is going to cut your bulk a little bit short, but we don't need to panic. We just want to keep an eye on that. So some people want to do 3-week bulk, 1 week cut, 3-week bulk, 1 week cut, 3-week bulk, 1 week cut, and structure it in this way where they never really get quality, productive training and good quality momentum. Lee, I found 2 rest pause sets after my main set to be a sweet spot. It's very manageable, savage type of training. And will adding extra rest pause with more time in between sets make a difference? We're looking for best or better or unlocking a puzzle, right? Better, best. Better, best is what works for you on that exercise during that season of training. As long as you have progressive overload in the mix and as long as you're enjoying it, that is good for you in that season. As for a nemesis, I have a crazed lunatic ex-guitar player who hates me for 11 years. He once claimed I unalived his cat. That sounds like a lot of fun drama. Trying to friend a clean, no background noise clip of Greg saying Jeff Nippard for band purposes is draining my soul. Yeah, you know what you might want to do? There are some AI tools where if you have an hour of audio of a specific person talking, it can mimic their voice. This is a fun little tool. I did it with myself once on one of the lives. And then you can put in the text and it will speak the text. And it sounds like 99.99% legit. It might be a fun tool for musicians. I don't know the legality, but hey. Why does max safe reps failure on a row type exercise not feel like the back is failing? It is. It's just a little bit more complicated. When speed generation slows down, then you are at form failure or technical failure. Every exercise is going to feel a little bit different when you get to failure. So don't overthink it. Just don't overthink this stuff because you're getting yourself into an unnecessary box that you don't need to worry about. Focus on good quality form, focus on good quality progression, and don't worry about the feel. We're not in this to feel, right? We're in this to progress and attack. Dark Slayer. I kind of strained my pec during bench press. Do you think I can keep making the same? Yeah, regardless, you have to do what you have to do to get rid of that strain. I will tell you, if you stop training, that's not good. Anytime anybody has an injury, you have to do what you safely can and as hard as you safely can, and that will push you forward. Okay? That will push you forward. You can't do the same thing you wanted to do, but you need to do what you can do safely. That will always be productive. Want to give a huge shout out to Big Hairy Ugly Dude. Thank you, Martin. I haven't lifted for 6 months, but yet every single day he's checked in with me exactly the same as when I was lifting. There's a reason he's the GOAT. Thank you. You're gonna bring a little bit of water to my eye. I mean, I'm not just saying that lightly. I can't begin to tell you how much I appreciate everybody that works with me, and I want that you're people to me. You're not numbers. You're not clients. You're not checking in once a week on spreadsheets. You guys are important to me, so thank you for sharing that. This is what sets you apart. You generally care about us as humans, not just clients. I do care, and it's not something I just say. Like when I was growing up, I never had anybody to guide me, and I'm not going to get into some long, big, drawn-out bunch of hoo-ha, sappy stuff, but I didn't have parents around. My mom was working. My dad was out of the house. No one taught me anything. And I want to be a good person. I want to be the best person I can. These are just personal goals. I don't know why I developed like I did, but it's important to me to leave the world a better place. And this is a dream for me to do for a living. It is. And helping people is so incredibly satisfying to me. People will come and go, and some people won't like my approach, and that's fine. But the people I can help, the people that cross my path, it's an absolute honor. And I can't tell you how seriously I take it. I don't get on social media and post all the stuff, and I'm not going to, sit and, I'm just doing my job, and I love my job. Yesterday I worked 14 hours. Tuesday I worked 14 hours, right? I'm trying to do a better job of taking care of myself, because sometimes I just spend so much time taking care of everybody else and I don't take care of myself. So I've really done that this year, and I've found a good balance. And I appreciate all of you. Don't ever for a moment think it's not hugely appreciated. I have no doubt that all of your clients would agree. Thank you. Thank you, Martin. That absolutely made my holiday season. Should I count push-ups? I mean, I like to do push-ups. I like to do at least 2 sets of push-ups every week. I just try to do 2 sets of 25. Do I count it towards my chest volume? No. If you're actively, progressively overloading, yeah. I mean, don't get caught up in the weeds. Don't get caught up in the numbers. Have fun, fit it in, Make sure you feel like you're getting an appropriate amount of chest stimulus per week. I hope that doesn't sound dismissive, but it's the honest truth. Thank you. I appreciate it. Joshua, is progressing incline dumbbell bench from 90s by 13 to 125s by 10? No, no, it's not. I mean, somebody could do it. A couple people might be able to do it. 125s by 10 is like King Kong tier. Getting to the 90s is going to take you forever. Getting from the 90s to 125s, there's going to be some people that can do it in a short period of time. But most people, it could take you 5 years. So, yeah, I want you to go for it. Do I think it's possible? No, I don't. But I'd love to see you do it. That doesn't mean it's impossible. It's not very likely. Do you have a recommended rep number for the first set of a reverse pyramid? So a lot of this is going to depend on the lift. Bench press is going to be different from pec deck. And I'm trying to find the, reverse pyramid, you're kind of doing lighter weight and then you're going up to heavier weight, right? So if you're doing something like bench, you probably want to be at least at 10, maybe 10.86 or 10.85. You want to be careful because if you hit your rep target and then you move up in weight, you're going to see a drop off of a couple reps. So you want to make sure your target is high enough that when you move up in weight, it's not going to dip so much it's going to feel impossible. So 12, 10, 8 on bench press might be reasonable. When you hit 8 reps on the heaviest set, you move up and then they only dip to 6. You could use 7. You could use 12, 9, 7, 12, 10, 7 for the heavier lift like that. For pec deck, it could be 12, 15, 12, 10. It depends on the lift, but you always got to keep that in mind. What's going to happen when you hit that rep target and you move up in weight, your reps are going to drop a couple. Santana factor. During the unrack of flat bench, how far forward do we bring the bar? We have to keep it natural. We don't want to play around with overthinking. And depending on what type of bench station you're set up at, you got to be careful of the catch pins on some of the commercial gym stations. But forward, I just settle it above my chest. I'm not sure I understand the question directly or what you think you need to achieve, but everything needs to be natural. You don't want to be fudging around with a bench press, a heavy weight above your chest. The bench press is probably one of the most dangerous lifts in the sense that if that thing falls, a lot of bad things are going to happen. If you drop a squat, or a deadlift, probably nothing bad is going to happen, but a bench press is the most dangerous lift. So natural, keep things natural. What do you think about beginners starting with only machines? Not a fan of only machines, but I think a beginner, there's a lot of benefit to doing machines and dumbbells. This is something I've talked about for several years, and sometimes it angers people from the cult of barbell, but squats and deadlifts take time to master, so we're not in any rush to get into the squat and deadlift camp as a novice. A beginner can start with machines and dumbbells and then maybe add in the bench press or other barbells if they want, but I would go with machines and dumbbells. I've lost a huge amount of strength in respect of dips and pull-ups. Yeah, very, very normal. The beautiful thing about losing strength is that it comes back very quickly. It might not feel like it, but over the course of 2 or 3 months, you're going to realize you're right back there. And in the meantime, you just need to take care of your body. Good morning, Jeffrey. Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Big Tom Hill. Symmetric Strength is a website that analyzes the relative strength and weaknesses. It's probably reasonable. I don't know. Would it be mildly interesting? Sure. Can I make an intelligent analysis of its viability and whatever? Honestly, the value is going to be up to the individual. My goal on this channel, and something I haven't talked about enough this year, is to make everything as big and as strong as humanly possible. That's always my goal. I don't like to think about weaknesses. I like to get everything strong. I find that bulldozers, I can maintain reps on a couple of the mini sets, even get one extra sometimes. Sometimes deeper into the mini sets I get on bulldozers, I start to almost get a second wind and pick up an extra rep. So that is not unusual. Thank you. I appreciate it. Nasima Ingyang, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, is the co-host of the Mark Bell podcast. Sorry, I haven't watched that in years, so I apologize. He's like yourself, a strength athlete that took up jujitsu. I'll check it out and thank you. I have not heard that name before. Instagram is a funny thing. I follow Mark, but it never shows me his posts. And then you sit back and realize one day, I'm following Mark, but it never shows me his posts. So I'll go look it up. I appreciate it. Took your advice about asking the wife for a massage. Great. Now I have a black eye. Well, at least you get some free time to yourself, right? Didn't hear that from me, kids. Didn't hear that from me. Getting a black eye is not the best way to get free time, but it is a way to get free time. All right. Do you get the amount of stimulation from triceps pushdowns if you don't lock out? Don't overthink this stuff. If the lockout bothers your elbow, that's all you need to worry about. Yes, you're going to get good stimulation. We don't want to aggravate the elbow no matter whatever we do on triceps work. We don't want to aggravate the elbow. So don't worry. You're going to get plenty of stimulation. Just be safe, be smart, progressively overload. You'll be fine. Your explanation and description of the overhead was perfect and so quick. Would you do a set of videos showing form? I am planning on doing that in the coming year, actually. One of the reasons of wanting it in the best shape is that I do videos. I don't have a lot of time to do videos, but when it comes to content for this channel, I want to get into a lot more of that. I have a good setup here. That's one of my big goals for the new year's. Big JD. I work out at home, free weights only, thought of doing only 6 compounds. That's fine, but don't seek minimums for the sake of seeking minimums. There's a little bit of benefit from doing exercise variety. Nothing wrong with that. I've done similar things. Just don't box yourself into a corner where it's like, this is what I have to do forever. Big Paul, one of my favorite human beings on planet Earth. I don't have any brothers, but I will easily say that Paul is like a brother to me. Massive Iron Podcast is the massivest podcast of all time. It's like, that reminds me of Charlie Brown being the Charlie Browniest. So I'll take that as a compliment. When all else fails, bench. That's right. There are some people in the world that'll make these videos like bench press isn't the best, or bench press is this, or we don't need to bench, we don't need a big 3. Those people are the enemies. I love to bench. I do. I love to bench. I love to bench. If you don't like to bench, we can still be friends. But I love to bench. Good morning. Good to see you, my friend. Been a while. Good to see you. I hope everything's going well. Could one maximize their upper body with just overhead bench row? Yeah, you could. I mean, you want to do what you can during a season. Is it the best route? Would I add in some variety? Probably. But if that's all you could do, as long as you are maximizing what you can do, you're always in a good place. How realistic is 195 at 5'10 and a half at 9%? Not very. If you look at natural bodybuilders that are on stage at 5'10, 5'10 and a half, they'll be lucky to be in the upper 170s, 180 at 6-7% body fat. Not very, okay? Because the leaner you get, the more you're going to lose some of that body weight. So 180 would probably be an ultimate goal, but you would have to have a lot of mass. Thoughts on doing isolations for basically every muscle like calsos, fly, Keenan flap, raise, etc., and push? No, there's no progression opportunity. You can't just do isolations. Isolations are fine as a last place, and every isolation is going to be different. They're going to have different progression opportunities, but you can't do only isolations. In no world will that ever be effective because they don't have quality progression opportunities. If you don't do compounds, you're not going to get anywhere. You're going to go nowhere quickly. It just took 4 workouts to move to 90. Sounds like you got some natural country strength. You could do it, but it's going to be very rare. I'm not trying to be discouraging. Steve Shaw, starting my main character energy training right now. I shall be the Hokage. I'm lost. I don't know what that means. I'm too old. I don't know if that's crude, rude, or an anime character, so don't hate me. Would you ever recommend vlogging your first? I've been thinking about just doing some vlog stuff on YouTube or even on Instagram just for fun. I might start doing that in the new year. I got so much going on, but yeah, I would consider it. I mean, I'm just getting to the point where I know I want to train for 4 hours a week on jiu-jitsu. So the first, 4 months was like just kind of learning if I could handle it. 3 questions left, guys. 3 questions left. Just a last call, last warning. Apparently machines are overall better than free weights. No, that's not true. That's absolutely nonsense. Anybody pushing that is just pushing personal nonsense, personal dogma. No, they're not better. Better is a combination of quality exercise selection with a good progression opportunity. Anybody that's saying machines are better than barbells or barbells are better, machines are just dumbing down the argument, and they should be unfollowed on social media. They are adding no value and creating a narrow path. And if we learn anything from the history of lifting, it's not a narrow path. And people on the narrow path or teaching the narrow path are doing you an injustice. It's a huge steaming pile of nonsense. What would you suggest for someone that has a slight level of spinal flexion during their squat for you to send your video to me? Either on Instagram at Ben the Barman, email at benthebarman@gmail.com, join Team Massive, check out the link to Discord, my previous video. Send me a video because many times this is form. Sometimes it's trying to go so deep that you lose tightness and get butt wink, etc. I would suggest 100% sending your form video to me. The kids will love it. Are you older than Star Wars 2? I was born in 1967, so I saw Star Wars before I was a teenager. Do you mind me asking how much you're paying for your jiu-jitsu? I got in on a founder special on a new school, and it's $60 a month founder special. So I got in as a founder, and that's what I'm paying a month. I have 22 or 23 hours in of training, not a lot, and I am a single stripe white belt. All right, guys, thank you guys for watching. Oh, absolutely wonderful day today. A lot of amazing questions. I love each and every one of you. I thank you guys for being here. 60 is crazy cheap. I can do as many classes as I want, really. I just can't show up for the female class. You bet. I thank you for tuning in. Please come back next Friday, and I'll be here every Friday. Check out my website, superlivingtoday.com. Get you a $9.99 t-shirt. Get your massive omnibus books at $9.99. Get you a gym bag. Come over and sign up for coaching right now. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next week.
It's not almost over. It's not almost over. You're not almost there. You're not almost there. You're not almost there.